I think we should just start by saying indie film showed up this year. This is Truly Independent, a show that demystifies the indie film journey by documenting the process of releasing independent films in theaters. Each week, Garrett Batty and I, Darren Smith, will update you on our journey, bringing guests to share their insights into the process and answer your questions. Garrett, how's it going, man?
So good. So good, Darren. Great to see you.
You too. It's good to be back doing the podcast together. Last week we missed that one, but it worked out. I think it worked out.
Yeah, no, well, the episode has been getting a lot of views and listens. I apologize in advance, Darren. I'm kind of casual today. I'm kind of in my, we've had a busy week of traveling, and so I'm just doing my hoodie and t-shirt, and thanks for putting up with me.
Oh man, I didn't know there was a dress code.
Oh.
I've definitely done the hoodies and the sweatpants many times because people can't see below, mid-waist on me in this shot. So you don't even know if I'm wearing clothes underneath. Anyway, it's really good to be back though. We had a busy week last week. You were at NRB. I was at the Zion's Indie Film Festival. You joined the last 2 days, I think. And then the Oscars were on Sunday. So we got a lot to talk about today. We're really going to do kind of a recap of the two events and the awards ceremony. And that's what we're in for today. So do you want to start with NRB or do you want me to start with Ziff?
Yeah, let's go in that order. NRB, Ziff, Oscars.
I love it.
Which is great. Yes, so NRB, this was my first year there. It's the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. And it was in Dallas at the Gaylord Texan, great big huge convention center. And it was just amazing. It was an eye-opening opportunity or an eye-opening event to be able to go and interact with so many people who are focused on this was Christian and faith-based broadcasting. It kind of bled over into film, which was why I went out there. I knew that there were several distributors out there, and several of my partners that I've worked with before were attending. And as you and I were releasing Faith of Angels, Cameron Arnett, who's very present in that industry or in that market, said, "Hey, you need to come to NRB and check this out."
Oh, nice.
And I'm so glad that he did. Darren, it was a lot of opportunities to meet and network and interact and kind of put into practice everything that you've been talking about as far as how to set up a pitch and at what stage we're going to start pitching these ideas. And then let's see, I guess there were two main events that I wanted to participate in. One was a pitch-a-thon, where it was an opportunity to meet. There were about 31 distributors. Each had a table, and you signed up for the opportunity to pitch different distributors. Some were looking for finished films. Others were looking for scripts. But they were all looking for opportunities to network with upcoming filmmakers. So I went to that. I signed up for several meetings with several distributors, many of with whom I've worked before. So in those meetings, I was able to kind of show them, hey, these are the titles that we've done. Here's my QR code. You can scan this, and then talk about projects that I have in development. So here's a couple of series and a couple of feature films that are in development. Again, it's only you get about 5 minutes to interact with each table. And then, they ring the bell and you go out and the next batch comes in. There were hundreds of filmmakers distributing, which was also very eye-opening because you say, look, what do I have to offer that one of these distributors is going to say, yeah, we want to work with you on, and there were no shortage of projects and no shortage of distributors. So it immediately shifted from, hey, I'm going to walk out of here with a film deal to, hey, I'm going to get as many contacts and names as I can. And when it's not kind of this feeding frenzy, I'll reach out, follow up with what I passed out to them, and then find out more about what they're doing.
Yeah. So tell me a little more about these distributors. Are they theatrical distributors? Are they broadcasters? Like, are they sales agents? Who are you talking to at that event?
Well, just a rough sampling was, Angel Studios was there. looking for content. So Jared Giese, the head of theatrical distribution for Angel Studios, was there. I have already met Jared. We've interacted several times, and in fact, Angel has just released Faith of Angels
Yeah.
on their platform. So in my few minutes with Jared and his team, I was able to shake hands and follow up and let them know what else I'm working on, but just find out how they're doing. Heartstrings Media was there. We've had Kirk on our show. So Kirk and Roger were there, and they had a group of individuals that were with them that many were meeting with Heartstrings to pitch them ideas. And Heartstring is looking for content that they can either help fund or help distribute. And so certainly there's a lineup there. And then there were smaller broadcasters. G Media was there, and Glenn Wagner, and I've interviewed Glenn and had a great conversation with him. I guess it was more than an interview. I reached out and said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. What advice do you have? And this was the individual that was instrumental in releasing The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, wow.
So, sitting with him for 5 minutes, just first of all, thanking him for everything that he's done for independent film and for faith-based film, and then talking about potential projects or things that he might be interested in doing. It was invaluable. It was worth going out there for. And then, yes, Darren, there were smaller distributors, people with fast channels or AVOD channels or streaming networks where they say, hey, we're in the southern Florida or western Florida market, and we have 1 million viewers on our broadcast, our limited broadcast, and we're looking for content. And so suddenly, for me as an independent filmmaker, I say, well, boy, if I have a non-exclusive deal with people, there's no reason I wouldn't want to put my content on all of these other little networks.
Yeah.
Angel Studios has 1 million subscribers in their guild. If there's 1 million viewers in Florida, why not make a deal with them?
Awesome. So how was it pitching? Did you do something different than you've done in the past, or like what was kind of your approach or your goal going into those pitch meetings? Because you've got two things going on. You've got Faith of Angels that could get distributed and placed places, and then you've got all this development stuff. What did you focus on, and how did you kind of balance that?
Before pitching each table, you sign up early. I signed up weeks ago to pitch, and then I went and researched what they are looking for. And so if I'm sitting with Angel, I wouldn't be pitching to Angel Studios. If I'm sitting with, who did I sit with? Harmon.
Caslow?
Yes. So I'm sitting with Harmon Caslow.
Nice.
He's a distributor. He puts films in theaters, and he's not looking to develop content. He's looking for finished product. At this point, Faith of Angels already, has done its theatrical thing. So with Harmon, I'm just networking. I'm just talking with him, finding out what he's looking for, what he's working on, and he has since returning from NRB followed up with me. Said, man, so great to reconnect with you, and let us know what you're working on. And anytime you have a project, send it our way.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we've discussed in previous episodes, you try to tailor the pitch for the person with whom you're speaking. And if it was a first time meeting them, BMG was there. BMG has distributed several of my films.
Nice.
Some of my earlier films. And so I sat with them and talked about an upcoming project that I'm working on, and just kind of planted the seed and say, look, I'll be reaching out once this film is done or once these series are in play or funded, and I would love to see if it's a good fit for your viewers.
Nice.
I don't know if that answered your question, Darren. I just tried to tailor whatever it was.
No, it's really awesome. And the key with any of these events, whether it's like an AFM or an NRB, where you're going with the intent to meet lots of people in one event or 1 week, the key is getting in front of them early, right? So sending a thing. I used to send out emails to people 2-3 weeks out before AFM and say, I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to swinging by. If there's a good day and time that works best for you, let me know. But here's me, and here's a little bit about what I'm working on. And then when I show up, hey, I'm Darren. Oh yeah, I got your teaser. Thanks for sending that over, right? So you're already setting yourself on a different level by, instead of waiting in line and going, hi, my name's so and so, and you've never heard of me before. You kind of
Yeah.
get ahead of it. And then you also applied that thing we talked about briefly before, which is this demand side selling. Like, you want to know what they're looking for first and then pitch them that instead of, here's what I have. Are you interested in this? Now, what's really nice, it sounds like, about NRB is that everybody there is kind of interested in the same thing. They're looking for faith-based and religious content and
Sure.
distribution for those projects. And so that part is kind of taken care of, which is nice.
It became apparent, Darren, that because I put myself in their situation, they're sitting in this room for an hour, 2 hours, and every 5 minutes somebody new is coming in to pitch them an idea,
Yeah.
either asking for money or asking for content, and it didn't feel like that was the right scenario to like pitch, a full, here's my treatment. Um, that wasn't going to be memorable, so it felt like, yes, I had done the work beforehand to introduce myself, to let them know who I am, and then it was just about me making contact and making an impression on them,
Yeah.
so that in the future I can reach out and say, hey, I had a great conversation with you at NRB. It was 5 minutes. We talked briefly about this. I'd love to tell you more about this. There we got like cards of everybody who I met with, and
Yeah.
now I'll spend the week this week following up.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
I mean, it's very similar to speed dating, right? You're not proposing on the first date. Like, you're not, here's the reason why you should marry me in 5 minutes. No, you're
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
hi, dude, this is who I am. Tell me a little bit about you. Let's feel each other out for 5 minutes. And you usually, because we're humans and we've done this our entire life, if there's something there, right? If there's interest, if there's a connection, if there's attraction, right, of any very variety of attraction, then okay, great. Now let's follow up and have a Zoom meeting or a coffee, or next time I'm in LA or Nashville or Florida, let's meet up, right? Those things, it's the start of the relationship, not the one shot in order to like get the deal done. So it's cool that you had such success. It sounds like, my guess is that a lot of people were there and just like spilling their skittles in the lobby, right? Just like, here's everything I could possibly tell you, and then the time's up.
It felt bad. You identify those people and you think, okay, how can we help them? But yes, where you come out and you say, hey, I have 5 minutes and I've memorized something and I'm gonna deliver it, but the distributor's not connecting with you, or you memorize something and then you freeze up and you come out in tears going, I had 5 minutes with Angel and I choked, and that's all they're going to remember me for.
Yeah.
And so it had to be very, very kind of spontaneous and on your feet, and definitely have a lead behind. I mean, I think that this was very helpful because it gave us
Mm-hmm.
a point of contact. If the conversation started to run dry, they would reflect on this or say, okay, so what's this? Or, ooh, this looks interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
able to pick up on that. Um,
Well, and that alone, like, I mean, you showed it on the screen, but I mean, what do you have on the front and the back? You got like 5 movie posters that are movies you've already done on the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movie, 7 movie posters you've
yeah,
already done. And then on the back, you've got a number of projects in development. And so you're in 2 seconds of looking front and back, you're like, oh, this person is working in the industry. This is a director, writer, producer, whatever it is, that has
sure.
done projects and has more coming. So if I want to be aligned with someone who's already doing it, that's who this person is. You're doing that much context in like a leave behind in a 2 second interaction.
I think in this industry, it's about working with people you enjoy working with. So that, with that in mind, and I want this to sound right, it became a little bit more about pitching myself than pitching the project,
Yeah.
because I feel like I can leave an impression on somebody, and then together we can develop the project or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, if I were going in with a finished film, saying here's this, and in some instances I was, I did a movie with Cameron Arnett and John Michael Finley, and it's on Angel Studios right now, and we're looking for other channels to release it on. That's something we want to talk about. But if it was just kind of these development deals, or hey, getting to know you for 5 minutes, pitch yourself as a filmmaker. Like, tell me why I want to work with you. There's 31 other people here that might want to work with you. Tell me about you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a key point to take away as well, is have a single outcome, and you can understand what that outcome is if you do the research like you did ahead of time. I'm like, oh, this would be a great channel for me to pitch a finished Faith of Angels to. Or, oh, these look like people that would be really great to know for the next movie that I'm going to put in theaters, right? So it kind of narrows your focus. So then you can go in with that single focus and go, hey, I'm really interested in what you guys are doing theatrically. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Right? Oh, well, very cool. Here's why I asked. And then now you are connected on something where it's going to benefit both of you, instead of, well, I've got this and this and this and this and this, and I'd love for you to finance my movie and distribute my other one and give me all the context you have. And that's just not going to happen, especially in 5 minutes. So well done, man. I hope it turns out really well for you. It sounds like you've got a week of follow-up ahead of you, but that's part of the gig of pitching. Like, I've been told this by multiple people. The fortune is in the follow-up. I don't necessarily love the focus on money. Like, I think the relationships are really what matter. But if you're trying to, strike it rich, so to speak, or hit the jackpot, then it's in the follow-up.
Yeah, and I mean that doesn't even have to mean necessarily money, but
Right.
but yes, I guess that's what you were just saying. So anyway, I mean, I could talk on and on for NRB about NRB. It was really great. We got to see an early episode, I guess the latest episode of The Chosen that's unreleased, which was again looks so powerful. I will point out one of these, everybody's passing out cards and everything like that. There was a woman there that passed out a big old chocolate candy bar with her and for her production accountants. She's a production accountant. Now, this woman, and I apologize to her, I do not remember her name, and I should, because she reached out beforehand. And I think she reached out to you too, Darren, on LinkedIn.
I was going to say, like,
she
Prodigal
reached
Accountants,
out
I think I
beforehand.
just heard from somebody like this week.
Right, and we need to actually have her on the podcast because
nice.
they do amazing things in pre-production with accounting and kind of planning out your budget. But
Nice.
what a memorable! I mean, she is the textbook example of him going to reach out beforehand, say, "Hey, I noticed you're going to NRB, or are you going to NRB? I'd love to invite you to a dinner, an event that I'm hosting." And then when I was there, I could see her scanning name tags. And she goes, "Oh, you're Garrett. Oh, you're from Truly Independent. Come here. I'd love to
Look at that.
reconnect with you."
Well, I love that.
There wasn't a day, Darren. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't get that the podcast wasn't mentioned from listeners. So it was so fun meeting so many listeners, and so thank you very much for reaching out.
That is super cool. Well, that's a good transition into talking about Ziff, because the same thing happened at Ziff. And Ziff is the Zion's Indie Film Fest for those of you non-locals here listening to the podcast. But I was able to go Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. I ended up taking a short trip to Anaheim and Disneyland with my wife on Wednesday because she had a conference down there this last weekend. So we went a day early so we could just date each other at Disneyland, which we'd never done before. We'd always brought our kids before, so it was really nice.
Fun.
But man, what a cool week. There were some great projects. I got to see T.C. Christensen's new movie, Raised in the Bar, on Monday night. It was the opening night feature film. Really well done. I saw a couple other movies. I didn't see as many projects as I wanted to, I should say, because, I had a lot of dad duty. Like, I've got 3 boys at home and I can't leave them at home 9-10 hours a day yet. They're not quite there. So I missed a few, but there were a lot of really strong documentaries this year, which I noticed. Like, there were some strong features, but maybe years past had stronger. And that's just a very biased, opinionated thing to say. It's not objective. That's a subjective thing to say. But I was really impressed by the caliber of the documentaries and the short films that were at the festival. Like, there were some really, really good projects. And then we did our live show. Well, I did our live show on Friday morning, and we had about 24 people in the audience. It was an early morning time slot, and so a lot of people were recovering from the night before and got there a little late, but had some really great feedback, good questions. So hopefully you'll check out that last episode that we did live at Ziff. But yeah, it was a really good week.
I hear great things, Darren, that you did a great job. And for those that haven't heard the episode yet, I was stuck at NRB and had a flight mishap with my flight, and so I didn't get back until after you had recorded the live show.
Yeah,
But
it was
thank you for
weird
doing that.
doing the show without you. I don't like it, but we made it work anyway. But yeah, there's such a passionate community of indie filmmakers here, especially that kind of flock to Ziff every year. And there were a lot of people I saw last year who were asking about, what I'm working on and thanks for the show. And, there's just so many cool connections to be had. There was this I wanted to call out this one. There's this great experimental project. It was basically like a radio show. Derek Romrell and this band, shoot, I'm forgetting the name of the band, but they basically did like a visual or a long form audio album. So they took like a 5 or 6 song EP by
Was it
this
Northwest
band,
Stories?
Northwest Stories. Thank you. I was going to say Northern Exposure, and I knew that was wrong. Northwest Stories, the band, is coming out with a new album or has a new album out. It's like a 6-song thing. And they contracted and worked with Derek and Jordan, who's a composer and a producer, to basically weave a story in between each song. And they did just such a spectacular job. The writing was so good. The voice acting, Dave Martinez and Mallory Everton from JK Studios just really nailed it. I mean, when you just have a little bit of sound design and 2 people talking, you've got a lot to carry, and they both did an exquisite job, and everything about it was just really cool. But you sat in the theater, and they gave you blindfolds beforehand so you could experience it from the point of view of one of these characters who is blind, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is an experience that I would not have anywhere else. I doubt that they're going to rent theaters out and do a theatrical release of a film with no visuals. And so they did it at this film festival, and it was probably the coolest project I saw there. It was just so cool and so well done. And honestly, side note, like I have a project that I've been noodling on for like 6 or 7 years, and now I know that Derek and Jordan are good people to work with to try to develop this thing because they did that project.
Cool.
There's a lot of overlap music wise with what this project I've been thinking about for years and have never cracked. And so I'm gonna work with Derek and Jordan and be like, hey man, here's everything, every note I have for the last 6 years. Come up with something,
Cool.
please, because I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a cool
What a
thing that happened as well.
what a great takeaway to say, look, this festival is, I mean, any festival or opportunity to meet together as fellow filmmakers is to help identify future projects and future people that you want to work with, and to try something new like that. I heard very similar things about that
Eternities.
show. What is it called? Eternities.
Yeah.
And in fact, the band Northwestern Stories, they played at the awards ceremony for Ziff,
Yeah.
and just blew me away. I mean, it's this kind of folk music and really, really cool vibe to it. And I went and spoke to them afterwards, and just, I mean, they are an example of an independent band that has like 1 billion downloads on Spotify. I mean, it's just insane what they're doing. And it's like 2 independent guys that have an incredible gift and talent.
Yeah. Well, say a little more about the award ceremony. I had to come home and be had to. I
Yeah,
wanted to be home with my kids instead of being
yeah,
at Ziff all day again. So, how did that go? And were there any kind of standout awards that you were really impressed by?
yeah. I mean, I'll echo your sentiment about what a great festival it was, and how neat it was to come. Even I showed up in the last 2 days. I had already had an opportunity to watch the films, watch the features, because I'm on the board and was judging in that category. And so I was just so impressed with the narrative features, and there were some great ones. Spanky Ward had Princess for a Day, and Tom Durham had um,
Recipe for Love.
Recipe for Love. These movies will probably be picked up by BMG or another distributor. I
Yeah,
know that
Purdy was there,
some of them
BMG
met
was
with
there. I don't know
Purdy.
if there were other distributors, but I mean, we were both at places where there were people actively looking for projects to pick up or to license or to distribute, and so pretty cool.
Yeah, but I will say that the documentaries were a standout. And I'm trying to find the card of the people, the one that I saw that was just amazing. And it was a feature about a motorcycle. It's called, what was the
Ride
motorcycle
in
line? I think
Paradise.
Ride in Paradise, by Kent
Anna.
and Anna Thalman.
Yeah.
And so this is a husband and wife team that came out from Georgia or Missouri or wherever they are, Tennessee, and submitted their film. And they've got they have quite an amazing project. And it was neat to be able to see them receive the Zion's Indie Spirit Award, which is
Oh,
what
wow.
Faith of Angels won last year. In fact, they repeated our exact pattern. So that documentary won Audience Choice, the Indie Spirit Award, and it won third place Judge's Choice, which is what Faith of Angels did last
I
year.
think we got second
So
for audience for judges' choice. Third was The Carpenter, but yeah, we haven't convinced the judges yet, but we've convinced the audience and the people who run the festival.
it's but it was a standout, and it was a great award
Awesome.
ceremony. Michelle and Marshall always do such a good job. Charan Prabhakar was the MC, and he's just a brilliant improver and great talent.
Nice. Amazing. Well, I think award show is our pivot point into
Man,
talking about the Oscars. Look at that. 2 for
this is like
2.
the Segway
Let's
series. This is
go.
amazing.
All right. So the 2025 Oscars was also this weekend. So we were at NRB and then we were at Ziff. And then to cap it all off, an amazing week of film discussions and conversations and watching movies was the Oscars. And my goodness, I think we should just start by saying indie film showed up this year.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I've got indie films. They led the nominations and wins. Right, many these lower budget movies, the unique storytelling approaches, they secured the majority of the top nominations. I just love that. This kind of proves that this creativity and strong narratives kind of continue to outshine these big budget blockbusters at the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
It was
Let me
really
just
cool.
go down a quick list that I compiled, and I hope I'm not missing any of them. But obviously, everyone's heard that Anora just kind of swept the night with 5 awards, including 4 for Sean Baker, like writer, director, producer, editor.
Which is
Conclave.
fascinating. Not to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
I
you're good.
wanted to interrupt you because it's fascinating because in filmmaking, there's 3 times that the story is told, right? Writing, then it goes to the directing, then it goes to the editing.
Yeah.
And fascinating that the auteur model is still very much alive, where you go, hey, the more that you can protect that storytelling space with like one individual or at least the creator, then the better
Yeah.
your story's going to turn out.
So we have Anora and Sean Baker, and we can probably come back to that to just talk more about that project and that director. Conclave, an indie that won, Brutalist, No Other Land, which is a documentary that won, and Flow, which is historic because it's the first independently produced or made Best Animated Feature winner. And so it beat out Wild Robot and Inside Out 2, like these massive projects. Project out of Latvia, and you saw it and lauded it, and I saw it with my son when it was in theaters still because I wanted to go see it theatrically, and I was blown away by it too. So really, I've seen 1, 2, 3 out of the 5. I need to go see Brutalist and I need to see No Other Land, but I don't think No Other Land even has distribution yet, and yet it's the award winner for best documentary. It's so pretty crazy how that works.
I think it was a triumph for these indie studios, A24 and Neon and other independent studios
Mm-hmm.
playing a major role in the Oscars. Those we have access to those. Like those studios release films on a similar model that independent filmmakers can release films.
Yeah.
And so that was very encouraging when he stood up. Sean Baker stands up, or the producer stands up at the end and says, "Look, we made this movie for $6 million in New York." It's just like, well, that's not out of range
Mm-hmm.
for what we're doing. I've made a movie before for that range.
Yeah, it's
So
completely in our grasp. Let's talk about Anora and Sean Baker a little bit. So this was, I think, Sean's 7th project, 7th feature film, and I talked about this just yesterday, because at the film fest during the live show, I was talking a lot about this domino effect or the domino theory, which essentially just shows that like if you keep doing projects and you keep the momentum from one to the next to the next to the next, they can keep growing in size and impact. And I even charted out like his trajectory. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eighth feature film. The first one in 2000, so almost a 25-year career. The first project, $80,000. Second project, $3,000. Third project, we don't know what the budget was, but the fourth one, 235. The fifth one, 100,000. It wasn't until his sixth project that he started getting into seven-figure budgets. So Florida Project was 2 million, Red Rocket was 1.1, and then Anora for 6. So, but you can see like whether it's budget or box office or number of awards, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. It's this crazy curve. And to cap it all off, like he personally essentially won 4 Oscars, which hadn't been done since Walt Disney, like decades ago. And so,
Yeah.
can we talk about Sean Baker for a minute? What are your thoughts on Sean Baker as a filmmaker?
Well, I probably have to. I don't have an opinion, Darren, because I haven't seen his work,
Hmm.
and so that's the big disclaimer: is I have not seen Anora or Tangerine or the Florida Project. Did he do Tangerine as well?
Yeah, Tangerine was the one that was in Sundance a few years
Yeah,
ago.
that kind of
Shot for
film
$100,000 on an iPhone 5S
on an
with,
iPhone. Yep,
yeah,
it's been amazing to see. He's been on my radar as far as like following independent film and an independent filmmaker. So it's been interesting to see and his story and his trajectory. Um, yeah, so I can't speak. My experience with him is so minor that I don't really have an opinion.
no
Um,
worries. I
I
did
will
not
say this.
see. Go ahead.
I will say this. The Academy often recognizes films that I don't necessarily support or um, that don't resonate with me. And I think that that's the case with many of the films this year. So as we're talking about the wonderful awards in the Academy, I'm focusing more on the independent nature of it and less about the content of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I found it interesting that an awards ceremony meant to celebrate films. There's actually been a lot of controversy over the last few days that I've seen pop up online, and there's a lot of people who are really kind of grossed out, for lack of a better term, at the choices that were kind of nominated and then awarded. And I don't know that I have an opinion on that. I think film is film and you should make what you want to make. And if you don't want to see it, then don't pay money to go see it. Like no one's forcing these movies into your homes or into your eyeballs. And so I tend to take a little less aggressive stance on some of those topics. But I did think it was interesting that Anora, which is a film about the content that it's about, like swept the night. 5 awards for a single film, including Best Actress for is it Mickey or Mikey? I think it's Mikey Madison. Um, just amazing. And I've seen the film and it's well done, but it wouldn't have been my choice for best those things. But again, subjective statements. And I think that's what's wonderful about film, whether it's indie or not. And what I appreciate about the awards this year is that it's very clear why indie film exists because you look across the nominations and the award winners and you go, yeah, these are movies that studios aren't going to do. So we would not have them unless it were for the indie film ecosystem that exists. Whether it's mid tier or super low tier, whether it's $100,000 budgets or $6 million budgets, doesn't really matter to me. But these are projects that wouldn't exist if not for independently minded filmmakers and companies that are supporting and championing those films. And that's what I'm celebrating, coming out of this year's Oscars is, man, indie film's getting a lot of awareness for free right now because it just swept the awards. And that means there's going to be more opportunities. It's going to be a growing market. There's going to be more companies coming in and looking for original voices and ambitious projects that can't be told any other way than through indie films. So I'm just excited.
I agree. There's a lot to be excited about, and I don't think that. Um, I mean, we've seen a variety of Oscar winners over the years, and many independent related films. So again, I don't know that the content is dependent. is Oscar dependent. I think certainly a good story with a unique voice in a very creative space is what is being celebrated.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, the movie did
And
that
I
job
just
of like pulling you through to the very last scene. It did that job really well. Like, he's a very talented filmmaker, as witnessed by winning 4 awards for the 4 different jobs that he did on that movie.
yeah, I loved that in his speech, Baker expresses gratitude for the Academy for recognizing, quote, a truly independent film.
Mm,
And I think that was a neat, obviously that made me excited, but, um, you know, yeah, to be able to say this is an independent film and there is very much a market for these, that's encouraging and exciting as a
nice.
filmmaker.
Well, he just punched his ticket, so he can come on our show anytime, just because he threw that out there. So
We'll see if we can make room for him.
awesome, man!
Very cool. Well,
Yeah,
fun. Well,
such a good week of indie film like appreciation, and anytime I can spend 20 plus hours in a week consuming and talking about and interacting and circling around indie film, that's a pretty good week. So I just loved everything we got to do last week. I'm looking forward to the follow-up from both NRB and Ziff. I think there's projects that I'm looking at, and there's people that I met over the week. I did want to drop one nice little nugget that came from Ziff that I forgot to mention earlier. So they can put this back in that category, or we can just talk about it now. But Alan Blomquist, who's a longtime producer, has done like 40 projects with studios over the years, like projects you've heard of. I'm not going to rattle them all off right now, but he did kind of the Saturdays. They do a really great sit down where Marshall Moore, who's one of the co-directors of the festival, sits down with someone who's like been in the industry and has had a lot of impact. So he sat down with Alan Blomquist, and he gave this really great, succinct kind of description of the different types of producers. And I loved it, and I want to keep talking about it so that I remember the 3 myself. So he said that there are give money producers, there are get money producers, and there are spend money producers. I was like, man, that is so clean. That is so perfect. So spend money producers are like the producer, the line producer, people that are spending the money. The get money producer are the people raising the money. So that's a producer. Sometimes you've got co-producers or co-execs or people that are doing lending or those kind of things. And then you got the give money, which are kind of your executive producers, the people that are financing and lending against the film to make sure that it can be made and distributed. So clean. I loved it. I was like, I'm going to use that. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to share it with other people. I didn't want to forget that one. So there you go. And I do think it's kind of if you go in reverse, a lot of us start as the spend money producers, and then we kind of graduate or progress into the get money producers because we've done enough to where we can go out and raise money for projects, and we kind of understand how it all works. And so we're now having conversations with the get money producers or the give money producers. And then if you're really, shouldn't say lucky, if you're really focused and you're focused on being profitable and making money on every movie, well, you can turn around and start being the give money producers. And I look at like the Duplass brothers as a good example of this, where they started out doing indie films and then they started raising money for indie films. And now they're kind of self-financing all their projects because it's better for them to do it that way than to wait and ask for permission from the give money people or producers to give them money. So I love it. Love it. Love it. Wanted to make
so
sure I
does that
shared
mean
that.
does that mean they went full circle because now they're spend money producers?
Yeah, they're spending their own
Instead of
money that they
just
gave themselves.
spending their own money. Yeah,
That
I
is
love it.
that what it's just a perfect circle at that point. It's like a perpetual
It's
motion, right?
complete.
Like
Complete.
you just keep doing the thing, and now you don't need anyone else. You're completely self-contained.
Yeah. Well, what a great great concept that is to
Yeah.
remember that. I love it, Darren. Thank you very much. It's a little bit shorter episode, but so great to do this together again.
Yeah. Agreed. We've got some good guests lined up. I met 1 or 2 people at Ziff that we were going to have on in the coming weeks, and we'll talk to some more indie filmmakers who are in the same kind of development process that we're in, raising money, putting projects together. So It's gonna be a ton of fun. Looking forward to
I
it.
need to mention her name is Margot, the production accountant, because
Yes,
I
Margot, she's
sorry,
awesome. She was
yeah,
the one who
Margot Ransom.
she's the one who turned me on to NRB, and I asked you, "Hey, are you going?" There's this gal that's putting together a meetup, and she's talking to us about being there, and then you booked your ticket like the next day or the same day, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going, dude.
It was a two witnesses model because Cameron Arnett had said, "Hey, you should go to this," and then
Oh,
you
nice,
said, "Are you going to NRB?" I'm like, "Okay, I better if I want to do this for a career, I better take it seriously."
nice. I love.
And I'm glad I did. I also reconnected with Film Frog, who was
Hey, nice,
very helpful on marketing Faith of Angels and The Carpenter, and so it was fun to have a little sit down with Brandon and his wife, and
nice.
we'll reconnect at CinemaCon here next month.
Very cool. All right, man. Take it easy. Another good episode. Hey, if you listened and you liked today's episode, do us a favor and share it with your friends. Like, go leave us a review on wherever you watch or listen to this, and tell your friends about the show. It's growing slowly but surely, and every time someone mentions it, a filmmaker gets its wings. So,
Gets its budget, gets craft services. All righty.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, man. See ya. Thank you for listening to this episode of Truly Independent. To join us on the journey, be notified, and ask us questions about today's episode, head over to 3coinpro.com/podcast and put in your name and an email address. If you're a fan of the show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast app and be sure to share this. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Our intro and outro music is Election Time by Kjartan Abel.